Hi guys, this is your favorite mystic, TheSirenSayz, and welcome back to my commentary channel where I speak about TV series, movies, and books soon to come, where I speak about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything that I like and everything in between of all of those genres. I am so happy and excited. Guys, this sounds a little stuffy because I cried. Now, disclaimer, I don't want to hear nothing. Maybe in the first video I was kind of scared, to be honest, and I was okay with people hating on me for not liking Bridgerton #1 and liking #2 a little bit better, but not seeing why there was so much hype apart from the girl Simone being incredible. But like, it was just her by herself. I'll get into that later. This is what I like. Tears? I haven't had tears in a romance show, movie, any romance genre in so long. Goosebumps, enjoying the vibe, feeling the feelings, wanting them to succeed, feeling bad for both parts but understanding both parts, having every character there have a purpose, and any character that we dislike gets removed, like Lord Danbury and Dr. Frankenstein. Oh my god. Okay. So disclaimers. This is just for fun. I'm going to be a little bit emotional about this because I really enjoyed it and it made me cry. But it's just for fun. Anybody can be wrong. These are my personal opinions. Please put yours down below. If you disagree, just say, I can't disagree with that, and say why. You don't need to say that I'm dumb or whatever. Everybody has their own opinions. However, disclaimer, I do feel like this is the best that Bridgerton has to offer, and honestly season 3 of Bridgerton now needs to get close to this, or I don't even see the point. So just to get into it, this is episode 4, 5, and 6. Let's just get into King George, actually, because I don't want to leave him here. I underrepresented him in my first video completely. I didn't say anything bad about him, but I definitely underrepresented him. And I did have a moment where I said, doesn't he know, shouldn't he have been able to tell from even just his little interactions with Charlotte that, she wasn't just going to stay away from him? He should have known better than to just abandon her like that. He should have, given her a few more crumbs instead of just like total isolation. And I got it wrong. And I'm glad I got it wrong. Guys, when it comes to being wrong, this is what I want to be wrong at. I want to be wrong with a character's motivations within reason. Not like Tyler Perry, where like you're wrong because he just decides to throw in a new motivation out of nowhere. No, wrong because the person could have meant something else, but I'm just not sure. But it is within reason that they mean so. It was definitely within reason that whatever was going on with him mentally, he did not want her to see that. So he figured just total stay away was best. That is reasonable. It makes sense within the story. The story allowed for that plot point to make sense, and I loved that so much. And that was about all I loved, because after all that, I was just sad and depressed. They had a whole episode showing things from his side. It really just... That's why I'm glad I cut up the videos into at least 2 parts, because it really recontextualizes the first half, where we get to see most of the happiness before he abandons her through Charlotte's lens, and you realize that he was suffering the entire time. He only had slight moments of happiness with her, but for the most part he was suffering, trying to hold it in. Like a lot was happening. And let's get into the doctor for just half a second. I felt conflicted about him. I hate him. But what I was conflicted on is whether or not he was a full villain, or whether or not he just thought extreme measures were needed because the king had these extreme bouts, But then I didn't care after all. So I don't care if you think your science is working a certain way. This is absolutely ridiculous and you need to be stopped. So I was so happy when Charlotte came and stopped him and sent him away. I wouldn't have managed to send him to the gallows. Self-deletion by guillotine? I'm ready for that. Guillotine deletion? I'm ready for that. Because I don't know. I know that, like I said before in my last video, also disclaimer, I've read a lot of books like the Bridgerton series, so I don't know everything about actual monarchy, but I know a little bit about monarchy because, you know, those books have fact mixed in a little bit with a ton of fiction. So I don't know everything, but I know a little. So yes, I had to kind of take it with a grain of salt, and I think that's where me being unsure about the doctor came from. Not necessarily unsure about whether he's a good person or not, he obviously isn't, but unsure about whether or not he really believed he was going to fix the king. You know what I mean? Throw away whether or not he just wanted to control the king and what his motives were. Did he think it was actually working? That's what I was confused about. Because, you know, from our lens, it's like, none of that's going to help him. None of that is going to help him at all. I don't even know why you're deciding to make that a thing. But I will say this, right? Back then, they didn't have the medical capabilities that we have now. So there is definitely a version of this where maybe he did think that these inhumane things were helping. There was a lot of inhumane things that they used to do back then because they thought that was the only way to fix people. Like if people would have like a really bad cold, they would like let them bleed out and sometimes people would die. And that's how they thought they could fix certain flu-like diseases. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to be just like, oh, he's a full villain and nothing about him was ever pure intention. And I don't think he was ever purely intention, but I did think that he was delusional enough to think that his methods worked. Yeah, so that's what I want to say. I think what I liked about this show is that everything had depth. There was a little bit of gray. It wasn't too gray, because too much gray is what TV tries to put into all the shows now, where everything is gray and there's no good or bad. This show had a decent balance of there were villains and there were heroes, but the villains had a level of depth where you could kind of understand it. You know what I mean? So like the mother, I kind of see her as a little bit of a villain, just slightly more anti-hero maybe, but the doctor, total villain. The males in the court, kind of villains, but slightly anti-hero, because they weren't like trying to get rid of him. It's just like, look, if this guy cannot handle it, we need to figure something else out. And of course it seems terrible at the time because you're on George's side, you're on Charlotte's side, but if we're being realistic, like if he can't make it at least another 10 years, what are we here for, bro? No, actually another 20 years, you know, because he at least needs a full-grown son to take over for him. So, you know, like he needed at least 16 years more on the throne before anybody could succeed him. So I can understand from that point where Lord Butt and all those other guys are coming from, but they were still the antagonists, and they were still antagonistic, and I still didn't like them. Because you have to realize, you know, even if you understand where they're coming from, doesn't mean you have to like it, you know? You know, like you might have understood, like as a person of the noir complexion, why your parents would beat you. Doesn't mean you have to like it, you know? So let me get into George for a second here. He was so deep and introspective. And one thing I didn't say that I meant was that I really liked George's personality. I loved his hobbies. I was like, it made me fall for him. I was like, girl, George is my ninja. George, is that my man? God, is that him? Is that Let me not even put that in the universe, because I don't even know if I'd be able to handle all of that. Like, this is fiction. I'm not just going to be able to look my man in the eyes or sit with him under a bed and be like, come on, escape the stars with me. Oh my God, this is perfect. It's better than season 1 and 2, and honestly, I don't want to hear it. It has quotables. Asking you to escape the universe with me. I will stand in the gap. I will bring you back. Oh my God. I loved you since the moment I saw you scale that wall. I'm sorry. This is the type of show that I'm definitely going to watch other people react to, meaning I will practically be seeing it 15 different times because it was so good. And what made it good was George and Charlotte. Everybody else definitely helped, but George and Charlotte held it together and made me cry. Seeing everything from George's perspective, knowing that he never really went through, that's not true. He went through some rough treatments, but nothing this extreme. but he was willing to almost die. He was willing to almost die for Charlotte. I think that was so beautiful, you know? Everything that he was doing was for Charlotte at this point. Yes, the mother had alluded to the fact that he had tried other doctors, but they were slightly more humane, you know? A little bit of bleeding stopped that. Change of diet. I think maybe change of diet could have helped. I don't think it would have cured him, but obviously, I think it would have helped. What I did like is that we slowly got a lot of backstory towards it. One thing I did not like, though, is how they kind of made it seem like it was a fixable thing, which made the doctor look really bad. And this is not to save the doctor. It's just like, okay, the doctor is bad enough, but don't make it seem like if somebody just looks him in the eye and says the right magic words, he'll just come out of a mania episode. Because I don't think that's how that works. So I think that was strange a little bit. It kind of confused me. It's like, does he have a severe mental problem, or does he just have very bad anxiety? Because I feel like there's a slight difference. Bad anxiety can be crippling, right? But you can be talked out of it sometimes. So I felt like, well, they did say apparently historically he had a lot of mental illnesses going around, so there was that. But I didn't like that. They kind of like, it's like they showed how extreme his stuff was, but they also tried to minimize it. And it made it kind of hard for me to watch the doctor go at him, because I'm like, why is the doctor even doing this if all he has to do is like hit him in the face one time and tell him to calm down, you know? So even when Charlotte was there helping him and she was, you know, speaking to him and brought him back with her words, I was kind of confused. And you know, I'm not saying I'm upset with it, because this is like the magical realism that we get from shows like this, you know, where people can be brought out of manic episodes with sweet words, you know, whisper sweet nothings to me. Well, it wasn't sweet nothings, she meant what she said, but you know what I mean. A doctor would whisper sweet nothings to him. But I thought it was interesting, because it was like, bro, like, Dr. Frankenstein, do you not see that your treatments are putting him in constant panic, right? So he's in constant mania, going through all of this torture, and the doctor just does not care. And I'm just like, yeah, get rid of him. Electric chair, guillotine, finished. I think George is one of the sweetest men I've ever seen in my entire life on TV. Great. He cared so much it was to his detriment. And it was just great that Charlotte cared about him and was able to help him out and do right by him. And honestly, do right by the crown. I love their love. I love their togetherness. I love their coital scenes. All of it. I loved every single moment of it. Let's get into Charlotte. Because you know what, George, R.I.P. to your mental state. You will be loved. You will be missed. And you made me cry. So good job on you. That's how you write a good character, bro. And let's get into Charlotte. Okay? That is how you write a strong female character. Thank you very much. I love Charlotte still. Nothing has changed. I did like how they tried to show that, you know, because she spent so much time caring for George, she neglected her children, and they saw her as more of an authority figure than a parent. And that was interesting, you know, to go through. But she didn't see it that way, you know. But, you know, it's bound to happen, especially with the way she acts as an adult. I'm like, yeah, there's no way you're all warm and loving to your kids. The only person you're warm to is George. And I understand that. But I had a moment, right, where I was like, damn, like, think about juxtaposition. All those nights alone because George was somewhere else being tortured. And that's just horrific to think about. But now she's older and George is just living in his head. He's not being tortured anymore, not physically, but he's being tortured in his mind. All of these voices in his head that he has to get out by writing them down. The universe is converging on his mind. And the only way that he can understand it or get a moment of peace is by sketching out the universe. And she's eating alone again while her husband is being tortured again. And that is just so... it really makes you feel for the queen. And that's crazy, right? People don't really be feeling for queens and all that, but you feel for Charlotte. And that is what good writing will do. This show was so well written, man. So well written, man. I appreciate how she would take charge, how she wouldn't let anybody scare her into anything, how she knew what she had as a queen and she knew how to use it. Absolutely beautiful. I think this is one of my favorite love stories for the year. Yeah, for the whole year. I don't think there's gonna be much that tops it. In terms of new romances, I don't really know how it fits against old romances. I'll have to see. But this was gorgeous, and I love it. I love it with every fiber of my being. I love them together. I love the way that they spoke to each other, the way that they fought, the way that they fought for each other. Oh my God. Let's talk about Brimsley. It was so sad in the end to see Brimsley, simulating the dance that he had with Reynolds. Now that Reynolds is gone, I kind of wish I got a slight backstory to see what happened to him. He could have just died of old age, technically, but I don't know what happened. But it was sad, and it kind of punctuated that, hey, the king's brain is gone and the king's right hand is gone. Reynolds is gone. So, there's that as well. So what else? Yes. Queen Charlotte really bossed up. She had that baby. She bossed up. She decided that she wanted to befriend Lady Danbury, and she wanted it to be a real friendship, and I really appreciate that they were able to keep that friendship over a number of years. It was great, and I loved it. But yeah, not too much else to say. I still think her relationship with her brother is a little weird, but I do appreciate that when Adolphus came, there was a bit more of an understanding of why he wasn't so warm towards her. He didn't want her to feel too comfortable to come home. He wanted to, ice her out a little so she would be more forced to stay with the crown. And I understand that. So yeah, Adolphus was kind of cool. Let's just get into it. I know y'all wanted Lady Danbury to just fall on the sword and get with Adolphus. Honestly, I probably would have shipped it if they had given it more time. But they didn't give it any time. So unfortunately, they just look pretty together, but there's no soul or substance there, unfortunately. But it's Lady Danbury, guys. We know that she wasn't gonna pick that man. We know that she wasn't gonna pick him. So there is that. If she did pick him, he must have died soon after, or else how do we have the Lady Danbury that we have today? Like, think about it that way. You know what I mean? I do hope that he was happy though, because he seemed like a pretty decent person. Although he didn't really have too much of a backbone when it came to his sister. But we're not going to push that onto him, because we know it's the crown. But still, at least act like you're going to get you buff. Just act like it a little bit. Oh my God. Lady Danbury. I was joking in the last video when I said that she should get a little freaky coital on with Lord Ledger. I was joking, I didn't think they would actually do it. I didn't actually want them to do it really bad. I was just hoping that they would have expanded her character by adding an element sort of like that. But they did it. I was worried when it happened, only because I didn't know how Violet would react to that. Obviously, her parents didn't divorce. I felt like if they did, or if, there was a big dramatic thing, I think that she probably would have had less of an inkling towards love, and it would have affected her kids. So I felt like it couldn't have lasted, and it didn't. But it was so nice, and to hear Violet call the situation of her father's hats cheerful, and that's the word that she used for the time she spent with him. That's the word that Lady Danbury used for time she spent with Lord Ledger. And so she kind of just teared up a little bit and was like, yes, cheerful. It's like, ooh, it was so emotional. Everything, even if you weren't emotional in the moment, the callbacks to the scenes made you feel something. It was so good. So I think Violet knows what happened, but she's kind of okay with it, because obviously it was a one-time thing, And if her family help Lady Danbury feel something where her husband almost broke her. You know, good on you, Ledgers. Except Vivian, his wife, absolutely not. I will say though, let's get into Violet. I really enjoyed her. I enjoyed her so much. I kind of want the next prequel series, if they do one, to be Violet's story. I just want them to continue with Violet's story. Please, please, please. I mean, that it would kind of also be an excuse to get a little bit of what happened next with those two, Charlotte and George. But the way that she spoke about her ex-husband, we've heard her speak about it before, but because I didn't really like the first two Bridgerton seasons, when she said it just sounded like romantic fluff, like, oh, I had a perfect great love and da-da-da. But now that this side story was more grounded and more real, when she brought up her love with I think his name was Edward or something like that, it felt like something more interesting. And I like a friends to lovers trope, friends to lovers where, you know, she apparently grew up with him and they fell in love, and sounds like they were doing a little freaky deaky before the wedding. So I was really interested in seeing that. So Netflix, take that idea. If you have it, do it. I think it would be really cute to see Violet and her man. Okay, I'm not saying it could be better than, you know, Charlotte and George, because, you know, that's iconic status love right there. But, you know, it could be a cute little side story because your main stories ain't hitting. Thank you. Oh, I forgot to say this about George and Charlotte. I loved the progression of their relationship. The initial attraction and then hatred because of misunderstanding. So it turned from like snarky girls attracted to pretty boy to enemies to lovers. You know, it was like really quick transitions as their relationships progressed within the 6 episodes, and I loved it. I loved it so much. I loved seeing them dance together. And, you know, Queen Charlotte pulled an Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's only you and me right now. It was great. It was great. Oh, apparently Julie Andrews is the voiceover that does the Lady Whistledown thing. Iconic. Probably the most iconic thing about the original series, I'll be honest with you. But yeah, I want to see Violet's story. She, you know, she's gotten her second win sexually, and now she's thinking that she wants, you know, she wants that good. I used to give her that good. Now she wants that good feeling back, you know. After he died, it really affected her, and she was closed up, but now she opened it up, and she want to feel that again. And so, you know, who knows? Maybe while Penelope finding love, because apparently the next season is Penelope's season, we're gonna see a little side story of Miss Danbury getting some. So yeah. Who else can I discuss? Oh, I really liked Reynolds in these last few episodes. You saw his devotion to the king, how, you know, he wasn't just a yes man, he was the king's friend, and he couldn't even really stand there with the abuse, which is why he was so happy when Charlotte popped up. He was like, yeah, he's right over there. Yeah, take him out. Yeah, thanks. Because, excusez-moi. Okay, next, on to the vigilantes or anti-heroes. Princess Augusta. I appreciated her a lot more in these last 3 episodes. She got on my nerves still, but like even the scene that she had with Lady Danbury saying, hey, you are my most formidable opponent right now. You're not gonna cry in my presence. You're not gonna cry, period. Come here and drink this brandy, and let's get right back to tussling verbally. I like that. It's cute. It's giving adversary with a purpose. She's helping to toughen up Lady Danbury in a very specific way. Like, if you're going to be a part of this, you have to have a thick skin, and she was helping Lady Danbury get that. Because she doesn't like Lady Danbury, but she likes Lady Danbury. You know what I mean? And I really like that interaction. It softened her character for me and made me appreciate her more. And she just solidified me being more or less okay with her when she went over to Charlotte and said, all I ever wanted was for George to be happy, and you make him happy. And she actually said thank you. So you know what? You have redeemed yourself by being somewhat reasonable. Just somewhat. yeah, I think that just might be everybody. Netflix, this is how you do a romance. I'm so sick and tired of you flip-flopping and you being poker, a deck of cards. Who knows if we're gonna have something good? Who knows? It's like every time I watch a show with you, unless it's a show that that isn't a Netflix original, I am never sure if it's gonna be good or not. I'm never sure. Sometimes you can guess that it's gonna be bad, but other times you just have no idea whether or not it's gonna be good. Netflix, you need to be more consistent. If something is working, try and figure out why it's working. Not just like, oh, people like this romance, so let's make 10 more romance stuff. No. Why do people like this specific romance? And that doesn't necessarily mean carbon copy Queen Charlotte and George in 50 different genres. No, that means what elements of Queen Charlotte and George do people like? Did they like the writing of Queen Charlotte and George? Did they like the actors? Did they? Because there's so many different elements to making a good TV show. Sometimes the actors pull it all together. Sometimes the writing makes everything snap together. It's just a whole lot of different components that come together to make everything that we see. But yeah, to finish it off, as I said before in the beginning, the scene at the end that made me cry actual tears, and I was shocked. I was like, why am I crying? Oh my god. Queen Charlotte finally got one of her sons to get somebody pregnant that he's married to, a legal heir, not one of the 50 bastards. And she went to go tell George by herself, and he was just drawing on the walls, but he was barely listening to her and act like he didn't even see her. But she decided to go onto the bed, and she said, come, escape the universe with me. And they laid there, and it's like being under the bed literally brought him back so that they could have a real conversation, and then it would transition between young him and young her as they shared a moment over their new grandchild that's going to be born. And he reminisces, and he says how much he loves her and how she didn't escape him over the wall. She stayed. It was so beautiful. I had to cry. I had to. There was no holding it back. Netflix, this is the beautiful stuff I'm asking for. This is the beautiful stuff I require. Okay? I'm not asking for too much. And I feel like it's so annoying that this is like a diamond in the rough. That is like, I'm asking for too much. Netflix, you need to stop being a sometimey wonder where every now and then you give us something good. When most of the time Netflix just gives, it was okay. And other times it's absolute trash. And then once in a while it's like really, really, really good. Come on, Netflix, do better. But I really do appreciate this, so keep it up. Give us the Violet side story next. I want to see Edward. I want to see how they grow up. I think it's going to be really, really cute. It's going to be really, really cute. I want to see that. And how do I want it? I want to see them grow up a little bit. So I want to see a few time jumps in between 7 episodes. Yes, I said 7. I want to see some actual time jumps. I want to see how whatever happened when they were 12 affected them when they were 14. And how what happened when they were 14 affected them when they were 16. And then when she was 17 and he said, marry me. Yeah, I want that. I want all of that. Yes. Also, thoughts for the 3rd season. I think Penelope's season might be the best season for me, only because Penelope has been getting a lot of character development throughout these seasons, so it'll be hard for them to mess it up. But let me not say that people can always mess things up. Please don't mess it up. What I would want? I don't even really want her to be with Colin, because I feel like Colin does not deserve her. Guys, if you wanted her to be with Colin, you should have had him see her. I know that in season 3 there's going to be some time jumps and he's going to see her during the season. You should have had him see her in the last season. Not see her romantically, but at least see her to the point that when people thought they were together because of how close they are, he's not dogging her out to his friends. You see what I'm trying to say? You see what I'm trying to say? Okay. But what I would have preferred, since I don't really like her and Colin right now, and they could change my mind if they write it properly, but I'm not going to put my hopes up. I'm not going to use the success of this side show to put it on the main show and have high expectations. I don't. But I would love if they like brought in another Indian guy, right, or an Asian guy, to keep up the interracial pairings. And she still loves Colin, but then boom, she runs into this other guy, and they have so much more in common. He is also a secret writer, like, I don't know, like he's William Shakespeare or something, something fictitious but cool. And they end up falling for each other. And, they end up having a fight. He's like, look, you need to get over him. You need to love somebody who appreciates you. I want to see that. Her the cute Asian guy who helps her see who she really is. Ugh, I would love to see that. That's just my personal opinion on what I would like to see, but I know I'm not going to see it. So here's what you need to do to make Colin more likable. A lot of character development. A lot. I know we're going to see her character develop, but he gonna need some too. I don't need to see all of her character development and then have her just roll up on him and we ain't got to see nothing. Because I'm not gonna feel the chemistry. I'm sorry. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know what you think, because I thought this was a 10 out of 10. A+. Netflix, take notes from your own show. Thank you. Let me know what you liked, what you disliked, what you disagree with me on. Do you think this is a good one? Do you think this is better than the last 2 seasons? Because I know this might be an unpopular opinion, and some people might just think that season 2 is the best thing ever, and this is just a close second. Y'all are wrong, but it's my opinion. Let me know what you think down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we're going to watch some other Netflix shows, and I will talk about them, like Never Have I Ever, when that comes out, and all that. Anyways, goodbye, my size. Susu.